Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Sales Chalk Talk Show brought to you by Redcap Sales Coaching. I'm Hugh Little, your head sales wizard at Redcap Sales Coaching and Elite Sales Academy, where you can learn to make selling easy, fun, and profitable. If you're a chiropractor, a realtor, sell HVAC products or services, or run any kind of a service oriented business, you can learn how to serve more people and dramatically increase your conversion ratio, sales, and revenue. Stay tuned and you'll find out how you can take the first step to get started growing your business into the successful enterprise you really want it to be. I'm broadcasting today from Sebring, the very best part of Central Florida. My awesome co host, Jim Hamlin, is in the studio today. He was my co host for many years, took a break for a while, and now he's back. He and Gene McNaughton are sharing the co hosting on the show. Originally from Sweet Home, Alabama, Jim now makes his home in Lubbock, Texas, where he's a heating and air conditioning and plumbing salesman extraordinaire, doing around $2.5 million in sales annually. He's been in the HVAC sales business for around 40 years and also teaches and coaches other HVAC salespeople to be effective and successful in their sales. Hey, Jim, what's going on up there in Lubbock, Texas?
Wow, we made a huge turnaround. We set a record for days over 100 degrees. And then starting on Saturday, our highs have been in the low 70s and will be through the rest of this week. It's like, wow, flip the switch.
Being in the air conditioning, heating, and plumbing business, you don't really care whether it's hot or cold, do you?
I don't, but I want it to be one or the other. And this in between is for the birds.
Hey, you're invited to continue making Sales Chalk Talk a part of your learning in 2022 and beyond. Every week, you'll be able to get inside the heads of some of the most brilliant people in the areas of sales, marketing, leadership, business, and success. You can listen to all the past and future Chalk Talks at redcapsalescoaching.com/podcast. Or you can listen on iTunes, and we're just about everywhere else you can listen to podcasts too. On upcoming shows, we'll have a great lineup of guests coming up for you here on Chalk Talk. So stay tuned and learn more and more about how to build your business and your sales. Today, we're most honored to have marketing and franchising expert Mike Hutzel with us. Let me tell you just a little bit about Mike. As CEO of Eagle One, Mike leads the teams associated with revenue for the company that include the sales teams, partners and allies, consultative partnerships, and franchises. Mike leads the vision of Eagle One and contributes to the ongoing adaptations and modifications that best suit their clients' needs. Mike's most recent noteworthy professional accomplishment is being a contributing editor to the Franchise Bible 9th edition, released worldwide by Entrepreneur Magazine in April of 2021. His best personal accomplishments ever were marrying his best friend Nicole and becoming a dad. Mike is a committed Catholic whose faith is a central part of his daily life. He's an Army brat of the 101st Airborne Army and the proud father of a United States Marine. The values associated with his faith, coupled with the life lessons learned in a military family, all contribute to his work life, building up clients, and the family at Eagle One. Mike is passionate about men's ministries like Christ Renews His Parish and Knights of Columbus. He enjoys time away with his family on a beach, fishing and diving, learning Spanish, playing the guitar, and smoking cigars. Mike is also known the world over as one of the premier gummy bear connoisseurs. Mike's website is eagleonegroup.com, and we'll tell you what's available to you there just a little later in the show. I think you can tell you're in for a fun, fascinating half hour, so sit down, buckle up, and hold on, folks, because here we go. Hey, Mike, welcome to Chalk Talk.
Well, thanks for having me, Hugh. Appreciate you.
I've been looking forward to this. You and I have had the chance to talk several times and had a good time doing that. So I'm glad you're finally on the show here. Mike, your company, Eagle One, provides support to your clients in customer experience and lead generation and digital marketing. To start out with, tell us a little bit about your history and your philosophy behind those three services.
Sure, Hugh. Sure. Well, the thing is, if I got to tell you about the whole history, I'm going to date myself a little bit. Okay. Diane and I got in this industry way back in the fall of 1990. So I don't know if your listeners are, some of them even born then, but this was back in the old call center days, and we were a three-trick pony way back when. And it was really inbound, outbound, and market research, and that's what we were doing for a long time. We got into the digital side of our business in the early 2000s because our clients asked us to. The way we tell our story today, Hugh, is we have three main service lines, and you pointed them out: customer experience, lead generation, and digital marketing. Now that actually encompasses 12 different core competencies. The reason I like how we're structured today versus back in the old days, we've got all the tools in the toolbox. I'll put that in quotes. And what that really allows us to do is look at a client transparently and say, hey guys, we don't have any ego in any one particular strategy. We just want to recommend the right service for the right reason at the right time so we get the right result. So these different competencies we have, the clients can kind of pick and choose. We use the term around here, build to suit. So we really want to make sure that we're building whatever it is the client needs with their goals in mind. And our basic philosophy is this: it's strategy, it's people, and it's technology. And those three things put together equal results.
Well, that's what it takes. It is impressive. And by the way, Hugh, you said you got into this in 1990. Hugh is like 80 years old in 1990. He's still going.
Older than dirt.
so he does date you a little bit. All right, you're talking about marketing and lead generation, digital marketing, and those things. One of the most important things to me in marketing is that you have to identify your perfect or ideal client. So who is your perfect client and why?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Jim. Technically, we're client agnostic or vertically agnostic. That has served us well over the years, through a couple of recessions, through the pandemic. If I were just to take a look at the portfolio as it sits today, about 75% of it is small and mid-cap companies, and about 25% of it is enterprise. In the small space, we can have franchises, both B2B and B2C style, IT, service providers, nonprofits, e-commerce, medical. I mean, it really is varied. What we're looking for in the small space is folks who are in that growth trajectory and they need some support. They need some CX support. They need some lead gen support. They need some digital. Maybe they need all three. So we really want to meet them at the time where they're looking for support options. With our enterprise side, typically that tends to be more project-based clients. They have a big project in mind or a certain budget in mind, and they need some support for a temporary period of time. And I think of companies that are in the banking sector, the payment processing sector, logistics, the government space even. So typically it's an RFP, and we're bidding, we're competing. And those are the things that end up being very project, or at least finite in time, a year, 2 years, whatever that might be. Really, when we meet clients, what we're trying to find out is we want to find out in advance, can we truly help? So in that discovery process, we're really just kind of coming into the initial discussions, eyes and ears wide open. We're looking at our tools. We're looking at our experience. We're looking at the client's value proposition and who their prospects are. So all those things kind of go into the mix in those initial discussions, mostly just to help us understand, can we help at all? So we want to make that decision really right up front, so that as we're going down the process of thinking about engaging with a client, we have a pretty good feeling in advance. We know we can help them out.
That would be important. Yes. Well, you're both a service provider to the franchise space, and you're also a franchisor. What's the story behind that?
How long do you have? Yeah. So
You don't have much time. We already talked about that part of it. So, but
yeah, yeah. Well, so the short version of it is becoming a franchisor. So that's one of our most recent iterations. We didn't actually release our brand until late last year, and so we're really slow rolling it. The service provider aspect of it, though, we've been doing that for years. And really, what we found is we have a better niche, if you will, in the emerging sector of the franchise world. And so for us, the simple way to kind of use that guideline is anything with 150 units or less is a viable client. It's somebody we feel like we can help. Now, that said, we do have several brands that are north of the 250 mark, but we grew up with them. We met them when they were a younger brand. Being a service provider in any industry, especially in the franchise space, kind of has exposed us to what I'll call the problem areas, right? If they didn't have problems of some kind, support needs, whatever it might be, they wouldn't have a need for our services. So, we as a service provider, we've seen the good, bad, and ugly. When we got the invitation from, and we'll talk about this later, but when we got the invitation from Entrepreneur to write in the book, it was sort of a flag for us that said, well, could we be doing more in the space? When that happened, COVID was right after. Okay, we got the invitation in 2019, and then COVID hit. And my partner Diane and I were looking for ways to pay it forward or pay it back, especially with all those fired and furloughed executives. So we looked at our model, we looked at our salespeople, and we said, well, geez, we've got a stay-at-home model. We've got a model where there's not a huge investment necessary. We've got a model where the earnings potentials are high. So we made the decisions. I won't say it's completely altruistic, but we made the decision to sort of pay it forward to get into the model. And frankly, just going through the process of becoming a franchise was extremely enlightening. I mean, we went through an 18-month process with a group. And the entire time we were self-discovering, not only about each role that the executives had here, but we were also looking at each other in the roles that somebody else had. So there was a lot of aha moments for us during the period. The last aspect of becoming a franchisor ourselves was really, we wanted to be able to look at young brands that we're going to be a service provider for and say, we understand. We know what it's like to be a franchisor. We already know what you're about to go through, or we know what you're going through. We know what it's like to have franchisees. We know what it's like to go through all the training and the courting process that it takes to get franchisees. So now we can speak from the inside out of the industry. Most quote unquote marketing firms are just there to grab up the franchisees. They're looking for the volume play. We're in the industry to stay, and we wanted the franchisors that we're working with as clients to understand that we're going through it too.
You said you work typically with 100 unit or less. Does that mean 100 locations or less, or what does that mean when you say 100 units or less?
Yeah. So a unit is a location, Jim. So sure.
Okay.
I mean, and
That's
the
what I
reason
thought.
the reason the term unit's a little more user friendly is because some units don't have locations. So like our model, for example, there's no physical location. It's a stay-at-home model, but they're still units, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, you're talking about franchises, and I've been involved in that process on a very, very small part. But what advice would you give to someone who is considering purchasing a franchise?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I'd probably say after this many years. I mean, the first thing I would do is start looking for and choosing really good allies. There are some great people in the space, and just like any industry, there's some not so great people. So finding those folks who know the industry, who have a good idea of what your interests are, and those could be franchise brokers, those could be consultants, those are folks that just know and understand the industry. I would also tell people to ask a million questions and vet the answers. Really go in and make sure that the answers you're getting from a brand or from a broker or from wherever are authentic, right? They're not just trying to sell you something. There are a ton of great brands out there, as everyone knows, and many of them are brands that a lot of people haven't heard of. So I would say with that, I would just do the due diligence. Look for, and I'm a systems guy. So part of what we love about the franchise space is all about, does it have a good system? Not just what the franchise sells, but are there support systems like CX or lead gen or digital marketing, like billing or IT or accounting? Does it have good systems that's going to help you as a brand? And then I'll put in a shameless plug here for the book, but really everything I speak on in the space is in the book. It's there. It's an inexpensive buy. It's a great fundamental resource. It's something that you can get a good idea and find some reasonable resources in the back, right? Places to go, places to look, people to talk to, or even give me a call and we can direct people to the right allies that we have in the space.
Well, why do you think that franchises fail? You're telling me what you're looking for. Why do they fail?
So 2 words: avoidable mistakes. So I think, if I look at the young brands we've serviced, or I look at the young brands that we didn't get to in time and they did fail, it was because of avoidable mistakes. And by that, I mean, when a franchisor goes through the process of building out their franchise, they have an opportunity in the item 7, Jim, that allows them to build in solid systems, right? And it's not and what happens is the franchisor gets very, very passionate about the thing they do, whether they cut hair or they flip hamburgers, or that's what they're passionate about. And frankly, that's what, partly at least, the franchisee is buying into. They're also passionate about hamburgers or hair or whatever it might be. The reality, though, is the failure comes when there's not proper systems. And systems, again, are anything: billing, IT, accounting, the stuff that we do at Eagle One, the CX, the lead gen, the digital. These are all things that need to be in a support mold and bolted into the item 7 so that the franchisee can really be a business owner. A lot of times what happens instead is that everybody's very passionate about, again, in quotes, the thing. And what happens is that they don't have the business. The business isn't coming in the door, or they don't have the right staff, or they don't have the right support systems or whatever. And that's usually what causes the failure.
Okay. I mean, in the heating and air business, which I'm very associated with, many franchises have tried and very few have succeeded. And I think what you're saying is the big reason for that.
Yeah. I mean, it's beyond the service, right, Jim? I mean, so it's one of those things where you have to look at it, at the business holistically. And here's another truth about franchising, at least. A lot of folks get into it and they're leaving something behind. And if the thing they're leaving behind to get into franchising is corporate America, there's a stark contrast. It doesn't mean they can't do it. It's just there's a stark contrast between the support and the systems that sometimes professionals will take for granted in those big companies, right? I have an assistant for that. I have an IT department for that. I have fill in the blank. When you take the leap, the entrepreneurial leap over into franchising, if those systems aren't in place, well, now all of a sudden that owner is wearing 15 or 20 hats every day. And the hats that they're not good at wearing, a lot of times, like lead generation, right? Where's my next business coming from? Those kinds of things. And that's then when the failure occurs, because that's the one hat that gets neglected every day because there's a million other things to do.
Wow. That makes way too much sense.
Folks, we'll be right back with our very special guest, marketing and franchising expert Mike Hutzel, and talk more about how franchising may be a good option for your business. Visit Mike's website at eagleonegroup.com. First, you'll find a ton of great blogs that will give you information and inspiration on a variety of business and life subjects. You can get your copy of the book to which Mike contributed, The Franchise Bible: How to Buy a Franchise or Franchise Your Own Business, at Amazon.com. Find out how you can take advantage of the massive variety of services available to you from Eagle One, including email marketing, lead generation, digital marketing, franchising, appointment setting, social media, SEO, and so much more. Give Eagle One a call and find out if their services are a good fit for you. Check out Mike's website at eagleonegroup.com right after the show, or you can even pause the recording right now and check it out and take advantage of all the good stuff there. I promise you'll be really glad you did. Now, if you leave to look at Mike's website, be sure you come back and listen to the rest of the show, though, because Mike and Jim have some more great stuff for you. We're back with our very special guest, marketing and franchising expert, Mike Hutzel. Again, Mike's website is eagleonegroup.com.
Okay, we've talked before. Your firm technically is a commodity. I'm always working to differentiate my company from everybody else. We're in the heat and air business, sort of a commodity. So the question, what makes Eagle One different if you're basically a commodity?
Yeah, so we come out and say it, Jim. We come out and say we sell commodities. We're not afraid to say that because that's what it is. You can throw a stone and hit a call center. You can throw a stone from your office and hit a lead generator or a digital marketer. So what makes us different is the experts that we have in our different disciplines. Okay, it's really about intellectual capital, what I call jokingly around here, gray hair. It's that to have that ability to apply to the strategies, right? So anyone can buy a dialer and theoretically become a call center. Anyone can buy into a platform and become a digital marketer. But it's the strategic talent, the ongoing collaboration that really makes the difference. We have this saying, and we share it with clients. Around here, we work with a white-collar mindset, but a blue-collar work ethic. That means, Jim, we're sleeves rolled up, elbow to elbow, hands dirty kind of work, okay? Because that's the stuff that makes the difference. It's all in those details. And much of it, frankly, comes in the onboarding, right? So if we take the proper time and invest that management level talent in the beginning, it makes all the difference in what actually gets deployed. And it really doesn't matter which service line we're talking about, right? But many of the competition, when we find we compete, or frankly, if I had a nickel for every time I heard the story, hey, I invested in a marketing firm and I basically flushed my budget down the toilet, I'd be retired. So what I say to them is, did your last experience, was there management level talent applied to your missions? Almost always it's no. It's a financial investment on our behalf, but it's also selfishly, just for the listeners to know, it's a mitigated risk for us, right? So we want to invest that time in that intellectual capital early. We want to keep it ongoing, so it's collaborative all along the way. Most importantly, though, it extends the shelf life of the relationship. So what it does is it changes us from being just some vendor to being a strategic partner. So we want our clients of all sizes, it happens more in the small and mid-cap space, but of all sizes, we want them leaning into us like we are their CX department. We are their lead generation team. We are their digital marketing squad, right? That's a different kind of relationship than I have a vendor to take my calls.
You got it. I was not expecting that answer, actually, but I like it. It's all about talent. What kind of talent? What makes you better than anybody else? It's the talent that you provide to your customers.
Yeah, I mean, and part of it is just caring, Jim. I mean, at the end of the day, relationships, as you well know from your owning your own business, relationships are tough to earn, and they're tough to keep. So you have to overserve clients. You have to do it. We're guilty of that. I know it. But at the end of the day, investing that kind of capital, that intellectual capital, the clients see it. They appreciate it, right? They know we're going the distance with them. And I'll tell you what I really like about the approach. When everything's going well, right? Nobody's complaining. It's when something goes wrong, right? That's when you realize, and if the client can come to us and talk to us like a partner instead of just some vendor, it's a different kind of discussion, right? And so that's what we're after, because something always goes wrong. Something always happens. It's small, maybe it was overlooked, whatever it goes on. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have the ability to have a partnership so that when the sky does fall for a minute, we can look at it, be objective about it, fix it, and move on.
All right, you've been at this for 30 years. I can tell by talking to you, Hugh, and I can tell you've still got a tremendous amount of enthusiasm for what you do. And your answer you just gave talks to that. So, what keeps your team and you motivated?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things there, Jim, but if I had to narrow it down, I would tell you it's the client journey. So the really cool thing about what we do is we get to meet a client at whatever door they're at. Okay, wherever they are, they're coming to us theoretically for help. Okay, whether it's CX, lead gen, or digital, or all of it. Our job then becomes to figure out where they are and where they want to go. And that journey from one door to the next is the journey we get to walk, right? So there's a lot of feel good or goodwill built into doing work and then you can see the results for the client, right? You can see them growing, you can see them adding revenue, you can see them adding clients, you can see them being better at their customer experience, whatever that combination of factors is. At the end of the day, we get to be a part of that, right? And so we have another saying around here: we want to be a seamless extension of the client. So if they're winning, we win, right? That's the only real feel good in marketing, right? Because otherwise, we're just held accountable to metrics, KPIs, and yes, we have to be held accountable to those. But those are kind of 2 + 2 black and white numbers, right? It doesn't really. There's not a lot of so that's a lot of fun. The other thing I'll add, just on the side note, is anytime a new industry comes out, right, or a new brand or a new concept, the first thing they do usually is come to folks like us to find out how they get it out in the marketplace. That's also.
Oh, neat.
Well, that was a great answer, and I believe every word of it. And in addition to that, Jim, Mike is just like you and me. He has a good-looking blonde wife who is his COO and CFO, and she keeps him motivated, brother. Let me tell you.
Yeah, well,
now it makes sense.
Well, for clarity, let me clear up for the whole thing. So I do have a great looking blonde wife, I will admit that, but she's in the medical field. As a reminder, Hugh, my business partner is my mom off duty. So yeah, and so and here's a funny aside on that. Every time I meet somebody on LinkedIn who meets Diane first, they always say, always without fail, "Hey, I met your wife on LinkedIn." And so I've got this kind of internal joke with mom going. I'm like, "Hey, mom, I met another person on LinkedIn and met you first." I was like, "And yes, they said my wife." I said, "So what does that mean? You look really great for your age, or I look really old for my age?" And of course, mom always gets the props. She looks great for her age, and
She does.
she's still working circles around me, to be clear. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and you know what? When you got your mom working in your business, now you're really motivated.
Oh yeah,
behave. Yeah,
yeah. It's been fun. It's been fun. It's a great. I mean, the family business aspect has its challenges, but what's great about the relationship is because our roles are so vastly different. We don't really get in each other's lane much. So that, there'll be days that go by and her office is right next to mine, but I don't see her all day because she's busy with operations things and I'm busy with revenue or franchises or partnerships or whatever. And that's the way of it. But it's made for a really great relationship. And looking back, I wouldn't trade it.
Awesome.
Well, so Mike, awesome. You and I work really, really hard and we're busy guys. Now, Jim, on the other hand, he was giving me a hard time for being busy. He's so successful and he makes so much money. He just spends his day sitting around with his feet up on the desk drinking coffee.
Exactly.
Must be nice.
Coffee. I don't know.
I don't even have time for coffee.
Well, Mike, it's been a lot of fun having you with us on Chalk Talk. Before we let you go, we do have one more question for you, and this is one that we ask all of our guests on every show. The question's based on one of my favorite books, The One Thing by Gary Keller of Keller Williams Real Estate, or it could be a Billy Crystal movie. I'm not sure which. If you could give our listeners just one piece of advice that you consider to be the most important in gaining success in their businesses, their sales, their relationships, their lives, What is the one thing, Mike?
Yeah, four words, you always put people first. And I mean your employees, your clients, your prospect, they're all people. Whether you're a B2B business, a B2C business, people I think sometimes forget that there's people on the end of everything we do. I'll steal a line from the former Best Buy CEO, Hubert Joly. In his book, The Heart of Business, he talks about people, business, finance in that order. It's the same with franchising. Franchisees first, all else second. If you take that philosophy, the rest will take care of itself.
Well, folks, here at Sales Chalk Talk, we believe in taking action. So go to Mike's website at eagleonegroup.com. Check out all the great blogs. Get your copy of the Franchise Bible, How to Buy a Franchise or Franchise Your Own Business, at Amazon.com. Give Eagle One a call and find out if their services are a good fit for you. Take massive action. Don't procrastinate. Do it now. Go to Mike's website at eagleonegroup.com right away, and I promise you'll be really glad you did. I also promised to give you some information about how to increase your business and sales. So here it is. If you'd like to start scaling your sales and revenue, you can chat with me and receive a free individualized sales success roadmap. Go to redcapsalescoaching.com and you'll find a button on every page where you can schedule your free, no obligation, valuable session. You'll also find a ton of information at redcapsalescoaching.com that will help you tremendously in increasing your sales. If you're in the Lubbock, Texas area and want to enjoy total comfort in your home or office, no matter what the weather is like outside, give Jim Hamlin a call at 205 999 1402. That's 205 999 1402. Mike, thank you so much for taking time out of your really busy schedule to come and share all this great stuff with us and with our listeners. Come back again sometime soon and talk with us again.
Would love to. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Jim, what parting remarks do you have for the folks today?
First off, that was fantastic of you sharing your time with us, Mike. Now that I found out that you're a fan of the Ohio State University, and the predictions are that the Ohio State University will finish 1 or 2, and Alabama will finish either 1 or 2. If that comes to pass, we will be making a wager on the game if that's okay with you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I'll do you one better. I wouldn't mind. Well, let's get some seats together, and you wear your colors, and I'll wear mine.
Oh my! Oh man! I don't know if you can put up with the emotional swings that I have during the game.
Well, folks, that's about it for today's Sales Chalk Talk. We'll be back soon with another awesome Chalk Talk. We hope you'll join us then. Until then, make it fun and make it profitable. So long, Mike. So long, Jim. So long, everybody. And good selling.